Hi, it's Frenchy Bets. Welcome back to another video. Today we got heroes and zeros from week 3 and the waiver wire looking ahead for this week. If you haven't done so, please like and subscribe to the video. It'd help me out greatly. Thank you. Jumping into the heroes. Starting at quarterback, we had Justin Herbert with 29.3 points. Finally saw what I've been expecting from Herbert all year. Had 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. Tua, obviously, we all know the Dolphins blew up and everybody went crazy. Tua went 304. And Lamar Jackson finally had a good game. 200 passing yards and no touchdowns, but 100 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Kind of what we expect from old Lamar Jackson. And Kirk Cousins did it again. Kirk Cousins has been a great fantasy option all year long. Patty Mahomes with over 25 points. Jordan Love, 25.3 points. And Andy Dalton for the Carolina Panthers, stepping in for Bryce Young. And Andy Dalton looked pretty good. Bryce Young has not looked good at all, but Dalton comes in, puts up 360 and 2. And not a bad game at all. And I think might make some of the Panthers receivers more viable if Andy Dalton's playing. Josh Allen, 22 points. Hurts, 22. All around a solid week for quarterbacks. A lot of guys had 13 quarterbacks in regular standard scoring from over 20 points. So it's a solid week for quarterbacks. Really a solid week all around for all positions. On to the running backs. Devon A-Chain. Probably on everyone's bench or even the waiver wire. I know I dropped him on one team right before this week. He just wasn't getting any opportunities. Then he goes out and puts up 202 rushing and 4 catches for 30 yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. So almost 250 total yards and 4 touchdowns. And right behind him, Raheem Mostert, he put up 82 yards and 3 rushing and 7 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown. So both Miami running backs with 4 touchdowns. Not going to see that very often. Raheem Mostert's been solid though. He's RB1 on the season, and not just because of this big blow up game. I mean, week 1 he had 40 yards and a touchdown. Week 2 he had 121 and 2 touchdowns, and he's getting the last 2 weeks he's gotten a ton of receptions out of the backfield too. So Raheem Mostert's looking good. Kenneth Walker, 27 points. We know he can break off a long run at any time. At 97 yards and 2 touchdowns. Zach Moss. Zach Moss has actually looked really good for the Colts. At 122 yards, a receiving touchdown, and I mean he's got you over 20 points in both weeks that he's played. So, and he's looked good, averaging about 100 yards in those 2 games. Zach Moss, Jonathan Taylor who? And CMC did his thing. Actually a little bit lower scoring in 17.9. That's not great from CMC. We're used to him getting 20 points. James Conner was solid. Jerome Ford, had 17 points. It wasn't the prettiest. He had 2 touchdowns, 10 rush attempts, only 18 yards, but the 2 touchdowns bailed him out. So not really efficient, but got the job done for fantasy. Jerick McKinnon with a couple touchdowns. Travis Etienne was solid. And not other than that, wasn't a super high scoring week from running backs other than the top 3 or 4 guys with Miami running backs, Kenneth Walker and Zach Moss. The only 4 that had more than 20 points. Over to the receivers. Devontae Adams. He just keeps doing it. I mean, it doesn't matter who his quarterback is. He's one of, if not the best receivers. He's a little older, but he just keeps getting the job done. 13 catches for 172 and 2. I mean, he had 20 targets. It's great to see if you got Devontae. Keenan Allen did his thing again. He's looked great all season. He put up 218 receptions, 215 yards. No touchdowns receiving, but did have a 49-yard passing touchdown. So Keenan Allen just keeps balling out like he has been all year. And Tyreek, I mean, we know what Tyreek is at this point. 9 catches for 157. I knew he was going to be getting a ton of targets with Waddle out, so love to see it out of Tyreek. Justin Jefferson, Tank Dell, and Adam Thielen. 2 guys that Adam Thielen for sure probably wasn't started in very many leagues at all, but Tank Dell maybe. Debo, Mike Williams was having a good game until, unfortunately, season-ending injury, so he's done. Mari Cooper, DJ Chark. We had 2 Carolina receivers in the top 10. So Jamar Chase finally started to get some targets. Still not a explosive blow-up game from him, but it's good to see he's starting to get some targets. Tight end-wise, Sam Laporta. He's looked good. He's getting all the targets, and I was not high on any of these rookie tight ends, but Laporta's playing all the snaps for him. He had 8 catches on 11 targets for 84 yards and a touchdown. Laporta looks like he's the real deal. And Pharaoh Brown, I mean, I don't think that's really anything. Tight end for the Patriots. I mean, he hasn't even had a target until this game. But he caught a long touchdown, 2 catches for 71 yards and a touchdown. And Kelsey got in the end zone. Donald Parham, Freiermuth got in the end zone. Kittle was solid. So that's really all the tight ends have. Higbee, Musgrave again was wide open for a long touchdown, and Jordan Love missed him. But it is what it is. That'll happen. So, all right, that was the heroes. On to the zeros. Daniel Jones looked rough again, and only had 5 fantasy points. Derek Carr, some people might have played Carr. He did have an injury. But Joe Burrow still hasn't looked like the Joe Burrow we're used to. At 259, no touchdowns. It's just not what you need out of Burrow where you took him. Baker Mayfield, if anyone took the chance on him, he wasn't great. Justin Fields. Between Joe Burrow and Justin Fields, so far they might be the bust of the draft. Everyone was so high on them and took them so early, but I mean, Fields not even 100 yards passing, only 47 rushing, just not what you need. So, over to the running backs. The number one guy that we got to have a conversation about it. Derrick Henry. He's getting out-snapped by Tajay Spears. He's just not looking like Derrick Henry. He had 11 rush attempts for only 20 yards. That's not what Derrick Henry usually is. He just hasn't looked good. He's through 3 games, he's averaged 4.2, 3.2, and 1.8 yards a carry. That's just not good enough. Most rushing yards he's had on a season in a game is 80, only 1 touchdown. It's full panic alarm for Derrick Henry. I wasn't in on him, and it's proven right. When these older, big body running backs like he is, they usually don't gradually slow down. They're great, and then they just fall off a cliff, and we're seeing it right now. Khalil Herbert, he's splitting time with Roschon Johnson, so he just hasn't. I was wrong about Khalil. I thought he was going to take the job and run away with it, but he hasn't looked good. The Bears overall have looked awful. Josh Kelly filling in for Eckler, terrible. Only 1 point. So that's the thing with handcuffs. You never know what they're gonna do, and there's a reason he's the backup. So to only have 2.7 points in PPR scoring is tough. He's just not. That's back-to-back weeks now. He hasn't looked good since Eckler's been out. So, let's see. Tyler Algier, 4.9 points. And Bijan Robinson's snaps have been going up and Algier's have been going down. I had a good feeling that's what was going to happen. Usually rookies don't just come in and get 100% of the snaps. So I think that's going to continue to happen, and Algier is purely matchup based. If Atlanta's going to be winning the game, or you think they're going to be winning the game, then you can play Algier. But in close games or games they're going to be losing, I'm not playing him. He's just hasn't looked good the last couple games. Kenneth Gainwell, first game back, 5.8 points. So hopefully he'll start getting more involved again. Najee Harris is just been awful. He's only 6.5 PPR points this week, and he's not looking good. I mean, 19 carries for 65 yards, no catches, no touchdowns. It's just Najee was a purely volume play when he was good. He's never been the most efficient, but now Jaylen Warren's working in and getting more work as he deserves to. But Breece Hall looked awful again, and other than one long run on the season, Breece Hall hasn't looked good. And I think a lot of that's to do with Zach Wilson being the quarterback. Teams know all they got to do is stop Breece Hall, make Zach Wilson throw the ball, and you'll be in good shape against the Jets. Ramondre Stevenson wasn't great, 7.2, but you got to keep playing him. He's still going to be good. So, over to the receivers. Kadarius Toney, if anyone took the shot on him, 0.9 points. Didn't even get 1 full point in PPR scoring. That's rough. JSN, Jackson Smith and Jibba, hasn't been good, and that's what I was worried about when a lot of people thought he was gonna come right in and be a go-to guy, and he's just not with Lockett and DK there. And I know he'll get more work in as the season goes on, but I'm not playing him until he proves it to me. Until I see a good game where he's getting targets, I'm not playing JSN. Jahan Dotson, he looked so great as a rookie, and now he just hasn't done anything. I still want to keep him on my bench. I don't necessarily want to drop him unless I have to, just to see if we can get back to what he was his rookie year. But T. Higgins, 4.1 points. It's not what you want to see. The Bengals are just struggling right now. They got to figure out something. Drake London, 5.1 points. Nico Collins, big drop there, 5.4 points. Tank Dell kind of just took over that game. And Devontae Smith, 6.8 points. It was an A.J. Brown game. After the incident on the sidelines with A.J. Brown wanting the ball more last game, you knew A.J. Brown was going to get hyper-targeted in this game. So I'm not too worried about Devonta Smith there. Calvin Ridley didn't look good. They just got beat handily by the Texans and didn't look good. Chris Godwin, 8.2. Tyler Lockett, 8.4. Garrett Wilson, 9.8. It's tough. With Zach Wilson throwing the ball to him, it's hard to find value in any of the receivers. His talent is so great, but if I have other receivers with great matchups, I would consider sitting Garrett Wilson. Terry McLaurin, same thing with Dotson. Just Sam Howell hasn't been great, and you want to see more out of Terry. So, over to the tight ends. I mean, really, almost everyone is Hunter Henry after scoring in 2 games, getting you 5 for 50, 6 for 50, the only 3.7 points. Darren Waller, only 5 points. David Njoku, 6. I think I would be okay dropping Njoku. Waller, I still want to hold on to. Getting targets, and he's just the best pass catcher they have on their team, so I still want to hold on to Waller. Kyle Pitts, 8.7. I mean, he was only the tight end 15 on the week, which doesn't kill you, but he finally got some targets, 9 targets, only 5 catches for 41 yards, but I mean, tight end 15 on the week with those stats, so not really anyone else. There's tight ends just so bad. So, all right, that's it for Heroes and Zeros. Jump onto the waiver wire for this week. All right, moving on to the waiver wires. Starting off at quarterback. If Jordan Love or Matthew Stafford are available, Jordan Love's rostered in 66%, so he might not be, but Love's looked good going against the Lions this week. It's not a great matchup. I mean, the Lions aren't a great secondary. You can throw on them. Then you got Vegas the next game, so Jordan Love's looked solid. Stafford didn't look great last night, but he's got the Colts coming up this week. As far as lower roster guys, there's not really anyone. CJ Stroud has looked good. They've been throwing the ball way more than I expected they would, and he's looked good. So I think you can roll CJ Stroud out there. I know it's the Steelers defense, but I think Stroud should be all right if you're hurting at quarterback. Jameis Winston, if you want to take a chance on him, Got a little bit of a revenge game coming up going against Tampa. Derek Carr's probably going to be out for a couple weeks at least. So if you want to take the chance on Jameis, I don't hate it, but I don't necessarily love it either. One low-owned, Andy Dalton, only showing 5% owned. As long as he's playing, he's got Minnesota. They just bleed points to quarterbacks and receivers. So as far as a real low-owned guy, Andy Dalton would be my favorite, especially if you're streaming week to week. You got the Vikings, Lions, and Dolphins coming up. We don't know how many of those games he's going to start if Bryce Young comes back, but I like Dalton in all three of those matchups. So, moving on to the running backs, obviously Devon Achane, I guess is how he wants it pronounced now. Got to pick him up. We finally got the breakout that I was projecting him to have. And of course, it's after I drop him. But he had 18 carries, and so he's one of, if not the fastest running backs in the league. So Devon Achane is obviously the number one running back pickup. Then Kenneth Gainwell and Jalen Warren, a little bit higher owned, around 60%. But Gainwell, I think he's going to, next week, he'll get back more to his normal carries he has been before he went out. I do think that Swift is done so good that Swift isn't going to get phased out completely like he was to start the year. But Jalen Warren, he's earning more time, and talked about it with Najee. He just hasn't looked good. He was in on 45% of the snaps, and Najee was only in on 50% of the snaps. So he had the most carries of the season. So I could see Warren's getting close to a 50-50 split with Najee. So you gotta pick him up. And Tajay Spears, he hasn't looked great, but he's on the field just as much, if not more, than Derrick Henry right now. So it's something to look at. Obviously, I'm not picking him up to play him right now, but pick him up and put him on your bench. See what happens over these next couple weeks. What's going on with Derrick Henry? Jerick McKinnon had 2 touchdowns, and he's their old vet. That's Patrick Mahomes' trust in the red zone. So I don't mind if you get a spot start Jerick McKinnon if your other guys are hurt or in bad spots. Kendre Miller, showing 46% owned right now. Kamara is coming back, but he hasn't played these 3 weeks, so I'm not expecting a full workload from Kamara. And Jamal Williams just got put on IR. So opens up a little bit of an opportunity for Kendre Miller. Matt Breida, I still just don't like Breida. He's old, slow. I just don't think he's going to give you much. He might fall into the end zone, but I don't think he's going to give you too much. On to the receivers. Tank Dell, only showing 48% rostered, and he looked great. Houston has looked good throwing the ball. So Tank Dell is a must add if he's available for you. Then Jacoby Myers, somehow if he's available, he's higher owned, but if he's available, he's got to be on a roster. And Romeo Doubs, I said it earlier, Jordan Love's looked good, so Romeo Doubs is one of their top guys. You want to debate who it is between him and Christian Watson, but Watson's been hurt, so Doubs is their go-to receiver right now. Then Josh Palmer, Quentin Johnston, obviously someone's going to have to step up for Mike Williams. And Josh Palmer's a lot more readily available, and he scored this week after Mike Williams went out. Only 5% owned, and Quentin Johnston's 51% owned. Obviously, they're just not impressed with Quentin Johnston. He hasn't been getting on the field much, so if I'm taking my shot on one of these two guys, I'm going with Josh Palmer, especially if I need to play someone for this week, the next couple weeks. If you're just picking someone up to stash and hold on to, your starters are locked in, then I'd go with Quentin Johnston, see if the rookie can earn some more time. But if I need someone to start over the next couple weeks, it's Josh Palmer between those two. And Adam Thielen, he's old, but I think as long as Andy Dalton is the quarterback, you can play Thielen. Bryce Young comes back, I'm not nearly as interested in playing Thielen. But if Andy Dalton's in there, I mean, he put up over 100 yards, scored, and actually looked pretty good. So I'm all right with playing Thielen. DJ Chark even looked good. These Carolina receivers, I don't mind playing them, especially with Andy Dalton at quarterback. Chark, I don't want to play if Bryce Young is back this week, but as long as Andy Dalton's there, I'm good with playing him. Then Marvin Mims, again, he didn't get a ton of targets or catches, but he breaks off long plays almost every week at this point. So he's someone you can put on your bench and see if he can get some more playing time. And even if he doesn't, if you're projected to lose, you need a explosive week, you don't like your chances, throw Mims in there. Maybe he can catch a couple long bomb touchdowns. So that Tutu Atwell, you got to at least mention him. A little bit higher owned, 65%, but Tutu's actually looked pretty good this year. We don't know if or when Cooper Kupp's going to come back, but until he does, you can play Tutu every week. He's looked solid. And over to the tight ends, Jake Ferguson for Dallas. Just hope he finds the end zone. He's not going to get much. Luke Musgrave looks like old school Gronk, just running seams downfield, getting targets 30 yards downfield. If Jordan Love can hit him on a couple of those, we're talking about Luke Musgrave completely different. So I like Luke Musgrave. I like the targets that he's getting. And the last tight end I want to bring up, Donald Parham for the Chargers. He's been getting targets, especially in the end zone, and now Mike Williams out. Parham at only 2% owned. You can definitely do a lot worse. He's in a solid spot now with Mike Williams out, especially with the state of the tight ends right now. So that's all we got for the waivers. I have another video probably be out Thursday, breaking down the Thursday game and having the DraftKings FanDuel Showdown lineup. The DraftKings and FanDuel for Sunday went 1-1. I believe it was the DraftKings ones hit and FanDuel didn't. So I have those, and then breaking down half the games on Thursday. So I'll catch you guys then.